G'day! In this video, we will preview the Scourge of Ghyran rules for the Soulblight Gravelords. Now, Scourge of Ghyran is offering each faction a set of seasonal rules that are match play legal for the upcoming General's Handbook Season 25-26. Raising up from the graves for the Soulblight Gravelords, you have gained 2 new battle formations, 3 new heroic traits, as well as 2 alternative Warscrolls, 1 for Sekar, the other being for the Corpse Cart. Now, these units do have a separate pitch battle profile, and they can be substituted for the original Warscroll. You can't include both the Scourge of Ghyran and the original Warscroll for the same unit, but you can use them in an Army of Renown, just not in a Regiment of Renown. So without further ado, let's open up the Books of Nagash and see exactly what you have gained. Soulblight has gained 2 new battle formations that are added to the existing 4 options. Crypt Masters is a once per turn ability that you use in your hero phase. Pick a friendly Cursed Sepulchre to be the target. Now, it will have a ward of 4+ until the start of your next turn. You will need to plan ahead on which of your terrain features are more likely to need the ward in this turn, and your opponent can clearly go around and ignore that particular one and go hunt down another one. So really be mindful of what's going to be most critical to you. This ability improves the effectiveness of your Sepulchre by creating more durability, and given its importance of the terrain feature to leveraging your battle traits, this particular battle formation could be key to ensuring your army continues to be able to benefit from these features later in the game. Being able to set up a unit via Endless Legions outside of 3 inches of an enemy unit in your turn does mean that by simply charging into the terrain feature won't necessarily prevent the player from using it. And it means that this can be of great value if it means the difference between one of your terrain features being destroyed or not, especially as they will heal each time a model is slain nearby them. Skin Shifters is a once per turn ability in your hero phase where you get to pick a friendly infantry vampire hero to be the target. The target can then move up to 12 inches and it has fly when it does so. It can't move its end in combat, and as I look at your various vampire infantry heroes, it would cover your Blades of the Hollow King. It will include Sekar. It will include Radika the Wolf, and just not the Beast version. Ivia Volga, Lady Annika, Kritza, and your generic Vampire Lord. Providing the hero with a 12-inch fly move allows you to aggressively position to set up a charge or reposition potentially onto a different flank, and ultimately doubling the effective charge threat range to most of your eligible targets. As this has no restriction on if the unit is in combat or not, this can be used as an effective air quote retreat without the penalties associated with retreating, which means that you can pull them out of combat in the hero phase. That allows them to move freely, they can go on and charge, and they won't take those D3 mortal damage by retreating. You can use this to bring a unit into a cast range or potentially into an aura. Say, for example, you want to get them into range and then cast Prison of Grief, inflicting that strike last on a key enemy unit. Or you might cheekily want to benefit from Lash of the Sire. Because it's a hero phase ability, you can play around with the order in which the abilities are being used, creating your combination. So you could move first, or cast a spell, then move, or do whatever sequence that you think is going to be most beneficial on the table. And it could potentially make the Blades of the Hollow King really a dangerous threat when you think about not being able to be locked into combat. They're cruising around the battlefield and harassing your opponent wherever you need them to be applying the most pressure. Soulblight also gained 3 new heroic traits to go along with the existing 3 options. Frightening Vitality is a passive ability. Each time an ability that heals at least one of the unit's damage points is resolved, If the total number of the damage points healed by that ability is less than 3, heal X, and where the X is it's 3 minus that number. This is going to work on Rally, it's going to work on the Hunger, it's going to work on other ways that you can heal in the game. And it's essentially a way to ensure that each time you apply a heal ability, that you're always going to heal at least 3 health. Although, if you do have an ability that gives you a flat 3, or you roll generously and you hit the 3 or more, it's not going to gain anything in addition to that. So it's basically a guarantee to hit the 3. Vampire heroes are definitely the natural choice for this particular hero trait, particularly when I think about the Vampire Lord or even the Vengorian Lord. You know, given that they have that built-in heal from things like the Hunger Battle trait, you know that you're combining up to get that guaranteed 3 when you got this trait, when you've got some of those healing abilities, and it's going to ultimately keep the odds up in your favor for this hero sticking around and continuing to terrorize on the table. Immortal Ego is a passive ability. Each time you can re-roll 1 hit roll, 1 wound roll, and 1 save roll for this unit. Getting 3 free re-rolls every phase means a reliable boost for your most combat-inclined heroes, which can be a solid choice for a support hero. However, the ideal choice is something like the Vengo Lord, your Vengorian Lord, which has that incredible base melee profile and does have high durability. The foot or mounted version of the Vampire Lord is also a solid target, and the reliability is going to mean more damage, it's going to mean more survivability, stacking up with the Hunger to keep that hero alive longer, and through that continuation, ultimately, again, more damage and more sustainability on the tabletop. A Wastrel and a Vagabond is a passive ability. While a friendly Deadwalker Zombies or Death Rattle Skeletons unit is wholly within 12 inches of this unit, you get to add 2 inches to the run rolls for that unit and add 3 inches to the distance that unit can move when it makes a pile-in. Now, this specifically says Deadwalker Zombies and Death Rattle Skeletons, and it isn't bound to a keyword. So that means that you can't use your other Deadwalker or Death Rattle. So you can't use this on your Direwolves, you can't use this on your Barrow Guard, as an example. The bonus to move is going to help get these units to contest those midfield objectives in the early turn, set them up to embrace potentially a charge. And when I think about this playing out, it's playing into that standard Soulblight strategy of attrition, you know, building in warfare around those critical points on the battlefield, being supported by your terrain feature. The pile-in bonus is ideal to help them try to surround a unit and prevent them from retreating if they are unable to effectively grind down those zombies and skellies, or it could even be able to help a unit get more models onto an objective, swinging it in your favor, or you're getting that big pile of reinforced, say, zombies, you know, way more of them into combat that normally wouldn't be able to do so. Soulblight also gained 2 alternative Warscrolls with the Scourge of Ghyran, the first one being Sekhar, the Fangs of New Lamia. Now, this is an optional Warscroll. You do not have to take this version if you're picking Sekhar. It's completely optional. You choose whatever works for you. I'll explain some of the differences here that I've noticed between the 2 profiles. Starting off with the base profile, I guess. The base profile and all the weapons have remained unchanged between the 2 Warscrolls. She's still a double casting wizard, and the only initial changes really are limited to the Warscroll abilities. She no longer has the Serpentine Agility, the Time Swallower's Maw, or the Death Construct spell, so that will impact her slightly when it comes to, I guess, her durability overall. But what she has gained is 2 very interesting, unique reactions, as well as a new spell law. Allow me to remind you is a once per turn reaction for when an opponent declares a command for a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of this unit. Now roll a dice, and on a 5+, that command has no effect. it still counts as being used and the command point has been spent. A 5+ or a 1 out of 3 chance to turn off the command ability is potentially incredible, especially as it's still going to force your opponent to spend that resource of a command point, but it is only once per turn, so you choose your target wisely because you still have a 66% chance or 2 out of 3 chance that this is going to fail. It'll be a real balance on when is the right time to attempt this reaction. So even though I mentioned countercharge, don't always wait for the countercharge. If you know your opponent has that awesome spell that they're trying to get off, or prayer in the magical intervention, or if you know a redeploy is important for the strategy, or again, as the game is unfolding, you probably start working out what is the best command to start targeting. But don't wait too long because you may get laser focused and miss an important redeploy or magical intervention, or you see the power through coming through that if you would have stopped could have changed the scoring or the battle tactic or whatever it might be. With some luck, this can be an absolutely game-changing ability. Lest You Forget is a once per battle round reaction for when an opponent declares a spell or a charge ability for a visible enemy unit within 18 inches of this unit. Now you get to pick 1 dice from the charge roll or casting roll for that ability, and your opponent must re-roll that dice. This ability is best used on a long bomb charge or an incredibly tough spell to cast with a high casting value, because those 2 high dice rolls to succeed by re-rolling one of those. Let's say, for example, your opponent had, I don't know, a 10 or 11 inch charge as an example. By changing the dice roll, you could go as low as 7. So that's an automatic fail for something obviously like an 8 up or a 9 up. Again, you don't guarantee it's going to be a 7, but it does significantly reduce the success rate by re-rolling the highest roll. The same logic also applies to spell casting, where a spell might cast on an 8, and not only can you potentially make the spell fail, you also have the potential of triggering a miscast and then dealing some damage to that enemy wizard. It can only be used once per battle, so gaining maximum value from this ability is going to mean waiting for that right roll where the likelihood of failure is re-rolling that 6 into potentially a 1 or a 2 and turning that into a failure. Irresistible Demand has a casting value of 6, and it lets you pick a visible enemy hero within 18 inches of this unit to be the target. If successful, you will inflict D3 mortal damage to each other enemy unit within 3 inches of the target. So this spell doesn't damage the hero that you're targeting of the spell, just all of the other enemy units around them. This spell is going to be more applicable and will punish armies that have a hero being clustered by enemy units. It is a low casting value, so you could take advantage of this with magical intervention and reliably get it off. The other alternative war scroll for the Scourge of Ghyran is the Corpse Cart. The base profile is unchanged. Its melee profile has been combined for less potential, but with the addition of crit auto wounds, it means that roughly you should have a similar damage output. But let's be honest here, folks, we're not picking a Corpse Cart for its damage dealing potential. It's lost the locus of undeath ability that provided crit auto wounds to other Deathwalker units, and it's been replaced with 2 new abilities. Unholy Lodestone is triggered in your hero phase. Pick a friendly Deadwalker Zombies unit that is within this unit's combat range to be the target, and until the start of your next turn, while the target is wholly within 12 inches of this unit, its Mindless Ferocity ability inflicts mortal damage on a roll of 5 up instead of 6 up. While that unit stays wholly within 12 inches of the Corpse Cart, they will trigger their mortal damage on death on a 5+ instead of a 6+, which mathematically works out to be doubling the amount of damage on average that you'll be dealing to your opponent in the combat phase. The other ability is the Necromantic Goad, which is a once per turn ability that happens at the end of any turn. And that lets you pick a friendly Deadwalker zombie unit that is wholly within 12 inches of this unit and not in combat to be the target. The target can then move 3 inches and it can move into combat, again, at the end of any turn. This could be used as simply as a free 3-inch move to reposition slightly. It could be used to get more bodies onto a point to prepare for your upcoming turn or embrace your opponent's turn. It could be used to move into combat and then tag that unit, keeping them locked into place, maybe stopping them from charging and getting any charge bonuses should they get mortals on the charge or +1 damage on the charge. As this is an end of turn ability, you could also use it to retag an enemy unit who may have just escaped your clutches by using power through. I was curious to see if Soulblight would receive an update, given that they have only just received their 4th edition Battle Tome. We did see a range refresh with new skellies and new vamps, and I did say on my Battle Tome preview that the Deadwalkers got the short end of the stick. And as I look at your updates, and you did get some significant glow-ups in the Battle Tome, yes, there were some things that you might have hoped for, like monstrous traits for your Vengo Lord. Look, I'm happy to have seen Sekar get a update. I'm happy to see Deadwalkers get an update through the Corpse card. I know some people would have been hoping for, say, I did mention the Vengo Lord with some monstrous traits. I know that a lot of you were hoping for like the Necromancer to get a change, because I think that that new CP ability is a crime. Anyway, that didn't get changed here. You did get Corpse Cart. You did get Sekar. You never really saw Sekar, especially in any competitive lists. And I do think that while this is not an absolute transformation like we've seen with the Kraken Eater or the Glotkin, this is definitely a good first step in the direction of Sekar being included in competitive lists. Her 2 new reaction abilities are certainly interesting, and she will benefit well from the new Skin Shifters battle formation. And while we go back to the Corpse Cart for a second, improving the mortal damage on death for zombies, as well as the free 3-inch move at the end of the turn if they're not in combat, is definitely a nice addition to keeping your Deadwalkers around, being that shambling zombie horde that we know and love. Unfortunately, it doesn't help your undead doggos, so Direwolves, apologies there, nothing for you, but you're doing all right anyway. You didn't need any help. The 2 new battle formations and the 3 new heroic traits are definitely welcome additions. I can see Immortal Ego, Skin Shifters, even Crypt Masters. I think they can be popular. I'm not saying that they are the list, and that's exactly what everyone's going to run on the competitive scene. But I think they're interesting enough to play into some of the list building that people want to play with, or potentially to play around with the new terrain feature that you've never really had to build or really think around. That's obviously where Crypt Masters comes into play, especially those who are really leaning into the terrain feature. But anyway, look, if you want to theory craft and list build, why not come over to the AOS Coach Discord server, where we have plenty of spaces for all the factions like Soulblight Gravelords. The link is down below in the episode description. And I just want to say finally, thank you for everyone who has checked out these videos. It's 24 videos in 24 days. We have gone through every single faction. General's Handbook 2025-26 is on the horizon. Whether you're watching this in preparation for the upcoming General's Handbook, or you have the General's Handbook in your hands and you're now thinking about your next competitive list, I hope this series has been helpful and it helps you really make the most of your new upcoming season, and you get into all the combinations and the juicy things available to you. But again, thank you from me to you for your support, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for hanging around until the end. I hope you enjoyed that video and you walked away with a few new ideas. Now, if you did, I would love it if you pressed like on the video, as well as left me a comment with your thoughts. The conversation will continue over on Discord, and the link is down below in the episode description. I also want to give a massive shout out to the AOS Coach patrons and YouTube members who are supporting the channel and the growth that you're seeing here. So cheers, you are all bloody legends. And until next time, don't roll a double one on a spellcast.